Welcome back to the back nine of round one at the Eric C. Yetter tournament at Tyler State Park. This is the 29th tournament in a row of Yetter in 2022. This tournament is sponsored by Bucks County Disc Golf Alliance and BS Upshot, as well as our Patreon family. I'm Dave Oster, here to bring you the last 9 holes of Tyler State Park West. Starting on hole 28, we have another par 5 at 595 feet. Not the longest hole, but certainly a difficult one to get birdie on. Tight lines to start off. Depending on where you land, you're going to have to find a line to get up to the basket, and then a couple of very large guardian trees protecting the basket very close. And once you get about halfway down the fairway, there is also out of bounds on the left side that wraps around the basket. Brain Hart starting off of the T4. First hole of this back nine. If you haven't seen the front nine, be sure to go check it out. We are sitting at a two-way tie for second between Brain and Joe, with leader coming from another card, and Josh just a couple strokes behind them. No one's super clean off the tee. This is certainly a gettable par 5. Again, we mentioned in the front nine, kind of the theme of Tyler State Park is shorter par 4s and 5s, but definitely not the easiest of par 5s and par 4s, of course. This one may be playing as the easiest of the long holes. It is actually playing the second easiest hole on the course at 0.14 strokes under par. So, in better conditions, certainly a majority of the field would be getting the birdie, and if anybody really needed to push, could maybe even get an eagle here given the distance, but a really clean line would have to be hit. In today's weather, these guys are kind of just pitching and putting up around, trying to get up to the green, maybe to get their par, maybe get a birdie. Oh, and Brain just catching that one skinny tree. Looks like he did catch inbounds and then roll out, so he'll get to advance. And Josh's disc sticking in the mud is a good example of the conditions. A lot of rain has been falling here, pretty much in the entire area for quite a long time, and continues to fall today as Brain has a great putt to save his par. But even on this flat ground, the mud is, as we saw Josh's disc, just sloppy. Didn't even throw that high of a spike hyzer, and it just stuck in. And another great putt for Joe for a birdie, that was, bringing him back to even par. And another birdie, getting Josh down to 2 over par. We move over to hole 29, par 4, 574 feet. So almost as far as the last hole, but 1 stroke lower. And these players are going to be trying to get up around the corner, then it starts to go uphill, making it that much more difficult. And then, of course, like most of Tyler, trees and tight lines are the main things to navigate. This is playing to the far left position, making this hole that much more difficult. Last year we played up and over the log pile. And Josh throws a pretty great shot. Big flare skip back to the right. So lots of distance, but he's maybe out of position to attack the pin, being that you really want to be going to the left at the end of your throw. Brain getting through a little bit on the right side, but he's probably going to have to pitch up to maybe just a little bit around the corner. Brain will be up first, throwing that nice turnover forehand, and does just get to the corner. So he'll have a straighter look at it to get up and down for his par. Joe right side actually throwing the hyzer left to right to get up to the corner. Setting himself up. Again, kind of just a straight shot to get up and down for par, hopefully. And Josh actually does have a pretty open look, but much longer because he went, again, to the right. And doesn't take advantage, catches that tree. So now he's in about the same position as the other two. And giving the basket a bit of a run from probably 200, 250 feet away. And looks like he stayed pretty close to the basket. And Joseph Mela, if you haven't seen him play before, this is not a novelty shot for him. It is something that he uses regularly, the chicken wing throw. If you've never seen that before or never tried it, go out to a field and try to do what he just did. That was a probably 175, 200 foot approach shot. Throwing it thumb down, arm straight extended, and pretty much parks it. Definitely not a common shot. Maybe more popular with players of his generation. But with that success, I don't know why people wouldn't throw it more. Great par save after being a little bit tight on that right side. So Brain with the missed putt. Jumps up to 2 strokes over par with Josh. So Joe is staying even, leading this card. So move over to hole 30, par 4, 345 feet, severely uphill off the tee. You want to throw normally a backhand turnover, be more of a hyzer for these guys. Just kind of get up to the top of the hill. Any more distance is really just a bonus because of the distance, again, being under 400 feet for a par 4, under 350 even. Second throws really are more about the line than the distance. Even Joe catching that tree, not going to have the worst approach for a second shot, but Josh might. He went pretty far left. That must have been a very understable disc, throwing uphill and turned over that much because he threw it almost on hyzer, maybe flat, and it turned all the way over and kept going. And Joe pushed through on the right side, left side of their perspective. He may have a circle 2 look at it. And Josh is deep in the woods, just looking to try to get out. And I think he goes rough to rough, one side of the fairway to the other. Does progress a little bit. Brain forehand reach out, gets probably to circle's edge. And Josh just trying to get out of the woods at this point, soaking wet woods. Kind of makes it out. He's still going to be on the edge. And we're getting to that point of the course where it hasn't been a factor yet, but the wind is going to come into play. Whereas right now it's just been raining. Right now it's at a bit of a lull. It's been as bad as pouring before. And Brain with another tremendous putt for birdie, bringing him back down to 1 over par. But we see Hood's down at the moment, trying to dry out a bit while we have the chance, knowing that the rain is forecasted for all day, on and off. A good putt by Joe, too, to save the par. And another par, just a single bogey for Josh, even though he wasn't out of the woods until he was putting in his last throw. So, honestly, not bad for where he was on most of his throws. As we move over to a little bit further of a hole, 500-foot par 4, but more open. Got some big trees in the fairway and thick rough on both sides, so you really don't want to wind up off of the fairway. getting more and more uphill as you go, and basket is actually out in the open where we see the flag waving severely with that wind. So first two shots are off the fairway a bit. Josh trying to be in the fairway. Oh, catches something left side. Looks like he's just barely out. I see Joe going roller. And hooks up. Yeah, that'll work. He'll have a pretty clean shot to get up to the basket and try to save his par. Josh just trying to have it land flat, upside down, to get it back to where Joe landed. Once you get out into this open spot, it's pretty clean to get up to the basket. But again, you see the rain coming down. The shot shows it pretty well. And then out by the basket, the wind is certainly a factor. Josh hooks around the corner. And yeah, he's right by that basket. Should have a putt. Joe a bit closer, similar line. Might have caught a little of that trees, but he lands just as close as Josh. And this is more uphill than it looks, and out into that open. Brain does a good job, but sometimes it can be difficult where it's just so out in the open. The basket looks small, nothing near it for perspective. Your depth perception can actually get a little tricky out here, but these guys do a great job. Obviously, you've played this course many times. We talked about what their finishes were last year. Josh actually driving down from Maine for this tournament every year. These other two guys a bit more local than that. But they are troopers out here in this weather. Really pushing through, knowing we have the rest of this round and an entire another round to come. Hole 32, par 3, 319 feet. This basket is almost touching this tree on the back side as you head down the fairway. So if you want any chance at a birdie, you really want to get close to, if not past, that tree. And Brain ends up just a bit short. Even that, he's probably 15 feet from the basket, but on the wrong side. So as you can see, that's still going to be very difficult to get all the way up there. Joe might be able to straddle. He's right up against that tree, so he could straddle out around it. Definitely a very difficult basket position. Josh a little bit low out of the hand. Pretty easy par. Again, he's right up against that tree like Joe, so he'll be able to tap that in. Brain trying to give it a little bit of a circus putt. That Annie, not an easy thing to do, just barely catching that tree. Joe able to straddle out and get the nice birdie. And being the lefty here certainly helped with that putt, getting to the left side of his body, able to get the easy tap in par. Another par for Brain as well. Definitely a bit of a evil basket position by the designer, but plays well. It's a good challenge for these players. So move to another par 5, 526 feet. Again, short but difficult. You see the big trees in the middle of the fairway they need to maneuver. Big uphill towards the end, and then flattens off to an elevated basket. You can see the ripping wind and an OB road to the far right. And then, of course, thick rough on both sides.
That was way early.
Joe either kicked left or just got around it. Brain trying to flip that up to flat. Gets around the corner but skips over into the rough. He'll have maybe a reach out but not able to get a full run up to progress. Josh taking a bit wider through those two trees, it looked like, and skipped up to the big ones right in the middle of the fairway. Joe actually not in a bad spot. Looked like he was going to be further right than he actually was. And that's a perfect play. Getting anywhere up near that hill near your second shot. Set yourself up for a decent play towards the pin. And Brain going with the overhand. Flips over into the rough. That's going to be a difficult third throw for him. And Josh right on the edge. Good distance though, so he should have a lean out. And great shot by Joe. 15, 20 footer. I mean, nothing's a given, but you can't do too much better than that in 3 throws to give yourself the opportunity for the birdie. Brain with pitch out. And Josh with the reach out. Backhand almost giving the basket a bit of a scare and absolutely parked. Brain giving a bit of a run. That was for his birdie. He's close for par. This is for birdie for Joe. And nails it. Worried about the wind into pretty much a straight headwind. And a bit of a scary putt for Brain, but he makes it happen. The OB road and drop off behind. And this is Josh for his birdie as well. So one of the further, at least playing further, par 5s, and 2 of these guys able to get the birdie. So good playing for them over to hole 34, par 3, 326 feet, OB down the left side, OB road far right if you actually make it over there, but mostly just trying to get up and over this little hill and hit the gap, as Joe just narrowly does, really riding that left side. Gets out into the open, not quite enough distance to have a short putt, but he might be able to run it. And Josh a little bit right side. Oh, catches that tree. That needs to sit. And it does not. Catches that left side out of bounds, which probably is not in these 3 players' minds as much as most players, having their discs typically finish to the right, as we saw with Joe and now Brian. But Josh getting the unfortunate tree kick and now just laying up. He's going to be giving that birdie right back. Joe lays up. Brian maybe looking to give it a bit of a run. Just a bit low. Good bid though. Sometimes it's really tough to give it your full go in these conditions, although it does look like the wind is a little bit down right in this point. Maybe kind of the low side of the hill. So 2 pars, unfortunate bogey for Josh after the pretty unfortunate tree kick. Going the opposite direction, did not need to kick all the way back to that left side. Must have been pretty frustrating once he walked up there. But we still have 2 holes left in this round. Hole 35, par 3, 322 feet. Maybe the most straightforward hole on the course. Couple of trees to miss right at the end, but even if you do hit them, you have an inside the circle putt, as long as you don't skip away too far. These guys probably going to go left side, maybe try to swing around. And this looks a little wide from Joe. Stays out of the rough, but he will have a long approach still for his second shot. Brian going with the flex forehand and catches that tree. Maybe fortunate, that might have been going long. Like I said, he hit one of those trees, you're in the circle. If he went past that tree clean, he might have gone 45 or 50 feet past the wood line. Josh looks like he had more of the right line and just came up short. Did mention in the front 9, you see the disc on the screen, that we are giving away that Air Force stamped USDGC Rock 3 on our Patreon. If you'd like to check that out, you can do so over at patreon.com/HyzerMedia. Brain with the birdie attempt. Nails it. So, Brain back to even par. Really fighting through these conditions. Was up a couple throughout the round. Down at one point. Back to even with one hole to go. Joe and Josh are got pars for this hole. Move over to the 18th hole of this west side, hole 36, par 5, 650 feet. Really a placement shot off the tee. You want to get some distance, but you're trying to get around the mouth of the path. Everything to the left is out of bounds. Woods are out of bounds once you get up to this corner that we're kind of looking at. A little short, but again, not a bad spot. The closer you are to that path, the easier it is going to be to maneuver it for your second shot. And then as we get up to the basket, we'll see that it is on an island green. The circle at the end of the parking lot for Tyler State Park. A little wide for Josh, but it's coming back. Splashing down in the puddle, just narrowly making it inbounds. This is playing as the hardest hole on the west side of this course at 1.29 strokes over par. And Brain turns this over immediately out of his hand. There was never a chance that wasn't going out of bounds. So he will take it right where it went out with the penalty stroke. Josh also heading towards the out of bounds. Oh, and it looks like the tree kicked him back out. Very fortunate. And Brain also heading back towards the OB and not as fortunate, staying in the out of bounds. Joe going over that out of bounds. Pretty difficult shot. Needs to clear the long grass and obviously lands short of the road. Does so very well, setting himself up with a pretty easy up and down. And Josh narrowly making the island after taking it from the out of bounds. Brain does very well, getting close to the pin. Joe with the easiest approach shot of the three guys. Little flex, drops down right under the basket. Now Josh for, I believe that was to save his par. Sorry, that was for his par. He missed the birdie putt. I forgot he did stay inbounds on his second throw. So that was for birdie to get back down to just 2 over. Saved the par. Unfortunate double for Brain. Had just gotten back to even. But great shooting for Joe. 2 under par. Quite a few highlight putts and throws here in this round. Pretty exciting. Scores are going to be higher than they usually are. We see Joe did make the lead card, and Curtis Toes with a 10:31 rated round, 5 down in these conditions, as well as Brian O'Neill and David Giambra will be our lead card tomorrow. Thanks again to our supporting sponsors for supporting this tournament, and we will be back tomorrow for the final 18 holes on the first 18 of Tyler State Park East. I hope you'll join us then. Until then, we'll see you in the next hole.